Matayong matakam at matuto. Pinoy Flavors with Chef Jayson, where flavor meets heritage.
Yummy! Ayan, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Isa na naman pong episode ng Pinoy Flavors with Chef Jayson ang matutunghayan natin today. And every episode sinasabi ko na maganda yung naka-line up natin na speaker, no? Pero today, yung speaker natin ay isa sa mga pinaka-matanda ko ng kaibigan sa buhay. Lifelong friend. Siya isang professional eater. Isa rin siyang professional designer. And one of my most favorite storytellers of all time, CEO of Kandama Collective, one of the 10 outstanding young men of 2022. We're very honored to have sa studio today my friend, one of the Philippines' best debaters ever, Mr. Victor Bagilan.
Yay! Hello everybody. Hi. Thank you so much for having me, Jason.
Sobrang prim and proper mo naman.
Having sila. And I just want to congratulate you, ha. Like, you have a radio show now. Dati nagtutusok-tusok lang tayo ng fishball sa
Yes.
Nandiola.
alam niyo mga ka-flavors, yung isa sa mga pinaka-favorite kong story with Vic ay one time, mga bata pa kaming debaters, nag-training kami sa UP Los Baños. Kulang pala yung mga pamasahe namin pauwi lahat. So I think, di ba, parang we phoned a friend to go to Los Baños and pick us up. So medyo nakaligtas naman na tayo sa mga busabos days natin.
Yes.
Pupunta na ako sa first question ko, Vic. So kami po ni Vic, nung mga bata po kami, we used to travel around the country and across Asia for debate tournaments. And kapag debater ka, una-una, sobrang takaw mo. Pangalawa, mahilig ka sa pagkain, mahilig ka sa mga kung ano-ano pang bisyo, like nung mga panahon natin, medyo malakas tayong uminom. But in the debate community, what were the best meals that you remember?
Well, pinaka-favorite ko yung sa UP Iloilo. Remember the oysters?
Yes.
Parang I don't get a lot of that here in Manila.
Yes.
Yung doon kasi parang nakalagay sa yung isang barrel yung sinerve sa atin. Okay, I mean, yun, I'm still looking for that. Tapos yung maanghang siya, the seafood in Iloilo, parang I don't get to really eat that
Iba
here.
rin ng Visayan institutions when they host, no? As compared to Manila institutions. Pag Manila institution yung host, parang anong lunch natin today? Magkano nyo to binili? Di ba?
Naka-tetra or styrofoam minsan. I mean, minsan it's like that. Pero I think iba yung generosity, I guess, like dun sa probinsya. And I guess the access to seafood too, it's much cheaper compared to here in the Philippines. So, yun yung pagkain na naalala ko sa Pilipinas. Iba when you go overseas. Pag overseas naman, well, yung hot pot natin sa Beijing.
Yeah.
Kasi parang feeling ko, it's very refined. Tapos
Kasi hindi tayo yung nagbayad.
Hindi tayo libre. Well, lahat ng libre, masarap. Tapos yung sa Macau, were you there in
I was in Macau, pero baka hindi tayo batch.
Oo. Parang there was a Macau, University of Macau tournament. Tapos parang 8-course meal. Tapos the first one was yung pig.
Yeah.
Ang tawag yung sa maliit na pig, yung
Suckling pig?
Yeah, suckling pig. Yun. So that was the first that they served.
Okay.
So okay lahat yung 8 na meals that they actually served for the opening dinner. Yeah.
Pero kapag ang naalala ko, magkaibang universities pa tayo nung first part ng debate careers natin. Kapag nasa ibang bansa tayo, ang naalala ko, yung mga ibang universities, medyo social yung pagkain. Pero pag yung kaming mga taga-beda, maghanap kami ng mga karinderya around the area. Kasi hindi enough yung funds, at least for our part.
Well, even for people from my school, we would have students, we would have people there who would also go on a budget meal. Kasi syempre, we funded everything. Sometimes yung parents also don't allow us to really go. So we finance our own trips. So we've gone a long way. So mas may disposable income tayo. So I'm really happy.
Pero
dumating
yung point na parang 30 pesos lang magastos namin on that day.
Yes, that's correct. And Jason, I also want to point out in raising the funds, the pagtitipid that we did to be able to raise the funds for that. Like for example, like siomay every day para so the rest of the allowance would go for a tournament.
Yeah.
Parang ganun siya.
Tapos pagdating mo ng tournament, instead na magtipid ka, yung 1/3 lalagay mo sa alcohol. Diba? So nagtitipid ka dito sa Pilipinas. Pag alis mo ng Pilipinas, tsaka ka
parang experience mo lang yun.
Ang pinaka naalala ko was when in Bali, parang after natin matalo sa semifinals. So we were the last Philippine team alive for that tournament.
Yeah.
Tapos pagkatapos matalo, parang yung adrenaline rush mo bumaba na, di ba? So
Yes.
nag-clams tayo ng maanghang. I think kapag nasa tournament tayo, maanghang na food yung lagi natin nakakain. Except that hindi mataas yung spice level mo.
No, mataas actually.
Talaga?
Because I'm looking for something spicy in my life. Parang ganon. Apparently,
something spicy in your life.
Yes.
Okay.
So it can't be like super plain. So, may correlation pala siya.
Pero nung nagde-debate tayo, what about it did you like so much?
I guess it's the people, really. Kasi parang, the way they think is very different.
Totoo ba, the people?
There are people who, hating some people is also part of the entire experience. Everyone was so competitive. Tapos adrenaline rush. And then, we were kids back in the day, so some of the problems that we were dealing with, pare-parehas. I mean, sabay-sabay tayo. So, that's the reason why it's easier to make friends.
Yeah.
Because we had pretty much we're pretty much on the same page. Tapos, matatalino eh. They're smart. Like, I haven't seen a concentration of that smart people in my life right now. Na naging ka-close ko rin.
That's true.
I mean, syempre, like, you'd come across one or two. Pero yung sabi mong super close mo, like, everybody.
Oh my God! Nanalo tayo dito!
Yes. Payat pa tayo. Payat pa ako dyan. In fairness to you,
lahat.
Di ko to. Oh my God.
Hindi ko to alam.
Saan mo napulot yan?
Okay, ito po yung mga debate days namin. Kita nyo na po na wala pa kaming pangkain yan at that time.
Oo.
But when we're in tournaments, ako ang pinaka nagustuhan ko, yung adrenaline rush nga na parang patalinuhan kayo.
Yeah.
Na parang may mahahanap kang mali sa sinasabi nila.
That's correct.
Diba? Tapos mananalo ka. But during that time, parang ang trajectory natin sobrang layo sa kung nasaan na tayo ngayon.
Exactly.
Yes, diba? Parang when we teamed up, you were in law school. Ako, I was in political comms then at the time. Ngayon, nasa restaurant na ako. Ikaw meron ka ng social enterprise.
A fashion social enterprise.
How did you get here?
So, I was in law school. Tapos, I think 4 years into law school, I realized that I'm too fabulous for law school. And people just assume that I have the skills to become a lawyer because we were debating.
Yeah.
But I just did enjoy it. Like, I could memorize the past winners of Miss Universe, but I can't memorize, like, a provision of a civil code. So, feeling ko, there was a bit of depression, I guess. That I wasn't living the kind of life that I really wanted for myself.
Okay.
So, yun siya, na I wanted to be a bit more creative with the things that I'm doing. So I entered the incubation program of the Singapore International Foundation. And they got in, so there's a bit of training. It was a 6-month training. So that was in 2016. So I wasn't a designer yet. So I was more of a social entrepreneur. Then, saan yung kinukuha yung pictures na yan? Bakit nabubuhay yan? Oh my God. So yeah, that was in 2016. Then 2018, that was my first foray into the international fashion scene, which was in Melbourne. I submitted a sketch, just a sketch, because I can't really sew at the time. I would just sketch, so I submitted some of my designs to them. Tapos napili siya. So I was subsidized as an international indigenous designer in a Melbourne fashion festival. Then I did 3 shows in total in Melbourne. The good thing with Melbourne is that they have a very robust indigenous fashion culture. They really respect the indigenous peoples there. More so in New Zealand, right? But I think compared to the Philippines, they're a bit more advanced when it comes to respecting.
I was gonna ask nga, parang right now,
rights.
kamusta yung indigenous protection for our like textiles, cultural communities?
Well, we have some sort of protection, but we can do more.
Mhm.
Like, for example, in Indonesia, like
Mhm.
I think the batik is more protected than our weaves.
Yeah.
There are a lot of senators out or politicians out there who are forwarding the protection of indigenous like textile weaves. What we can do more, like in India, for example, it's protected. It's a law
Okay.
protecting sari.
Ngayon, wala pang batas sa Pilipinas.
I think there's a bill by Senator Lauren. Parang I'm not sure like what the status of the bill is, but they're trying to prevent the influx of Chinese machine woven fabrics. Like if they go to Baguio, for example, you see a lot of, indigenous prints, indigenous patterns, which are machine woven, mass produced, machine made. Then some people they would rather use printed fabrics na where the motif, the textile, the patterns of indigenous patterns are actually printed.
So parang outsiders trying to recreate indigenous patterns.
Yeah, and unfortunately, even the locals would also create that. Would also make that kasi mas mura nga. Yun yung ano nila. Pero it's killing the entire weaving industry.
Okay.
Yun.
Okay, pero balik tayo dun sa question na how did you start? So, sketches lang talaga.
Yeah,
tapos,
sketches I submitted and then I did my first show. Then I realized, oh my God, magaling pala. And
ano yung thought process mo nun? Parang, did you put all of your heart into that sketch?
No, actually, it was really more of a necessity. Because when I started out in 2016, I collaborated with other designers. Parang, sige, like, here's a weave, design something. But sometimes the designs...
Abby, guest natin last week.
I have more photos of her actually. So yeah. So, and then I realized that mahal sometimes to collaborate with some designers and then you're not sure if they're aligned when it comes to values, if they want to design because they want to preserve the culture or if it's really for the community. Then I realized, ako na lang kaya gumawa. Mas mura. Pero, your sister.
That's my sister. Yeah.
So yun, yeah, I did it. So, yeah, the rest is history. So,
Para siyang ano for me, kapag nakakita ko ng masarap na food, yung question ko ay, bibilhin ko ba to o gagawin ko na lang to? Diba? Parang, parang feeling ko mas, may control ako sa outcome kung ako na yung gumawa ng dish.
But I think that the pagtitipid was a part of it. But a big part of it was also I really wanted to do it. I just needed that nudge. So the financial aspect was a nudge. It's also a different story, like how long it took me to make it profitable.
Do you wanna share the story?
Yeah, I mean, siguro, well, things were really well in 2019. We were doing custom-made stuff. We did Paris Fashion Week. So yun yung one of my indication na, okay, I'm in the right place because there was a lot of flow. So after doing a couple of shows in Melbourne, I got an invitation to do Paris Fashion Week. Parang in less than 2 months, diba? Like I haven't been designing. Tapos I already got that invitation. And then,
so it was fast for your...
It was really, there was a lot of flow.
Okay.
So parang I feel like that's God or the universe telling me, okay, this is where you should be, what you should be doing.
How did you absorb it?
Ano, yay. No, I mean, so I did Paris Fashion Week. Then I posted on, I mean, I think it went a bit viral, the article by When in Manila. And then I think Inquirer also published it. And then that was the time when Marian Rivera reached out to us to me na parang to dress her for a couple of her events.
Okay, para sa ating mga ka-flavors listeners, sino yun na yung mga nabihisan ng isang Victor Bagilat Jr.?
Siyempre, first and foremost, ikaw. Yeah,
yes.
mo. Yeah, that's a gift for you.
Yes, thank you so much.
For
Ito pong
Christmas.
bomber jacket na chef's jacket.
Chef's one, yeah.
Vic.
We called it Jayson. So yeah, then si Abby Marquez, then Marian Rivera, of course SB19.
SB19.
Grabe 80, yung 18, di ba? Yung fan base niya. Grabe sila. I mean, as in, ang dami nag-message.
Kayang bumuhay ng bansa, gano'n.
Oo. I mean, I was surprised actually. To a certain extent, parang a bit more than Marian when it comes to the demand when we dress them. And then Sarah Geronimo, and Lea Salonga when they did Voice Kids. Then, of course, we did a Vogue Italia photo shoot with Pia Wurtzbach.
Taas.
So, yeah. So that's
Vogue
it, yeah.
Italia.
Yeah, that was in 2022. Kaka-open pa lang ng Pilipinas from the pandemic.
Yes. Okay. Ba tawag dito? So, ako, I'm in the food industry, you're in the textile industry. But I think in culture, those two are interconnected.
Yeah, very
Diba?
much. Yeah.
So parang, can you help us give a backgrounder for our listeners? Ano yung interconnected things in the
Between-
textile?
In Ifugao, we don't really have a written history, right? So, well, for the most part, it's oral, and then it's handed down from one generation to the other. Tapos, a lot of the history is also embedded in the textile.
Yes.
Right? So, you're gonna see food ingredients in textile, like for
yes.
example, yung rice.
Yes.
Diba? And then, sometimes in the textiles, they would also embroider or weave there where you can find the rice, where's the river, where's the water. So there's a map. So yun. So I think that's one connection. The second could be the use of the dye, the color.
Okay.
So the first is the motif. The second is the dye. You use turmeric, for example, if you want to showcase yellow. Then aswete for
Talisay,
red, talisay, ganyan. Yun. Then we use bark for the fabric, the tree bark for the fabric. Before.
Yeah.
Ganun.
Parang yung tree barks nga, kung ano yung, I think, I might be wrong, pero parang yung ginagamit as dye, alam ko ginagamit din siya sa ibang suka.
Yeah, hindi ko alam yun. Hindi, yun. I think the most prominent connection really is how it's embedded in the textiles. Like yung pagbabayo.
Yes.
So it's there in the textile. Parang whatever they see in their immediate physical environment, it's there in the
I'm opening a second restaurant. It's called Namnama. Tapos yung logo niya, yung indigenous logo for bigas na nakalagay sa panig. So parang it's also, going back to your culture, but at the same time, parang feeling ko the Philippine market now is also ripe to explore.
Yeah, that's correct.
A lot of.
I feel like this wasn't the case when we started out. Parang in 2016, 2017, parang it wasn't, the demand wasn't as high.
Yeah.
This was pre-Catriona days wherein people didn't really care much about indigenous weaves and stuff. And then I feel like, we have to give a lot of credit to Catriona for popularizing the use of weaves. Na parang pwede pala. And that's also the reason why we did a lot of international fashion shows, because we wanted the Filipinos to realize that, hey, this is how amazing our weaves are. It's celebrated outside of the country, so we should celebrate it here too.
I wanna talk about that thought process muna.
Yes.
Bakit nauna yung outside the country so that you can spark love internally in the country?
Okay, I have a lot of answers to that. Una, kasi hindi kami pinapansin dito.
Okay.
So the first,
Nino.
Generally the public in general, like in fashion, it's highly perception based. The amount of money that you're willing to spend on something depends on the perceived value of the product.
Ganyan din ang fine dining. Joke lang.
Joke lang. But that's true. That's true, right? The entire Michelin thing, which is an external foreign entity giving a stamp of approval to your restaurant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of premium to it, and Filipinos do give premium to it because of that. It's the same thing, just as much as now tennis is becoming a big thing because of Alexa Ayala. So it plays into the Filipinos' colonial mentality to a certain extent. Not to a certain, but to a large extent. Diba? So ganun talaga siya. Parang, unfortunately, like, we're not gonna appreciate it unless there's a bit of approval elsewhere. And what I also realized is that it's easier for the second, third generation Filipinos overseas, like immigrants, to appreciate our weaves more than the locals. But now I think it's a bit the same now. But before, it was easier to convince Filipino Americans to appreciate our weaves than
Why do you think that is? Parang meron pinupunong void in their identity?
That's true. Kasi doon, they also want to stand out. Parang they have a longing for the motherland.
Yes.
So,
But their perception of the motherland is different na compared to
ours.
the perception and realities of people living in the motherland.
Yeah.
Yun din yung nakukuha kong insight now with Filipino chefs cooking from the diaspora lens. So, di ba, halimbawa tayong mga Filipino chefs dito, how we play with our ingredients, how we cook with our dishes. Pero, meron ding mga Filipino chefs abroad who want to be a part of that conversation. Pero, syempre, iba na yung ingredients nila, iba na yung experiences nila. So, nakikita ko yung difference in how we look at our ingredients, our cuisine, using the lens of the diaspora. I mean, the first Michelin restaurant na Filipino was outside the country. Diba?
Then it begs the question, is that authentically Filipino? I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Meron na akong so where I'm at right now is I don't think that food can be absolutely authentic. When I judge Filipino cuisines now, it's more of who are the people who made this and what were their realities in making. Like, for example, ano bang mga dishes abroad na tinola na kale instead of dahon ng sili or kale laing instead of dahon ng gabi. I think it's because yun na yung malapit dun sa mga
the available
ingredients. But I would also say na dahil nga malayo ka na sa motherland, mas madali na for diaspora chefs to substitute and experiment and be more playful. Na syempre pag dinala mo yan dito, sasabihin ng mga Filipino chefs, di naman ganyan sa bahay namin.
Yeah. Yes. And I think you also have to recognize the commercial viability of the dish and na parang their marketer also not all Filipinos.
Yes.
So you have to adjust a bit.
Yes.
Just as much as McDonald's, for the food, for example.
Yes.
Diba? They adapt to the Filipino market. So it's the same thing.
Surprisingly, nung nasa States ako, so I was cooking for white households. No? Pansit nga yung pinaka-gusto nila. As in, yung super basic pansit yung pinaka-gusto nila. So parang inisip ko, paano kapag naglaing ka na with all your bagoong alamang and daing, di ba? Parang baka hindi na kayanin pa lang. Yun din yung I think and I will ask a question about this. Na parang minsan you limit a part of your culture so that it becomes accepted by the institutions you want to accept you so that more people will accept you in the process.
Diba? So that's one way of showing cultural appreciation too.
Yeah.
But I know that there's a bit of a debate between appreciation and,
appreciation and I think appreciation and appropriation come together. Hindi siya maiwasan.
Yeah, I feel like there's a very fine line that separates these two things and there's a test for that. Like I think one of the tests is the intention.
Okay.
So parang what was the intention when you use other people's culture. Second would be the context too. Like medyo it's if you're coming from a dominant culture tapos you're using indigenous culture, medyo that's a bit there's a bit of a backlash there because of that power dynamics, diba?
Pero okay ka lang na let's say indigenous communities naman getting a part of the majority culture.
Yeah.
Magkaibang
well, kasi ngayon ganun talaga. I mean, we're wearing like foreign brands, like even Ifugao, diba?
Yeah.
So the question is, am I okay with people in the mainstream? Are we okay with people in the mainstream wearing Ifugao textiles, Ifugao weaves, etc.? I think you have to look at one. It's a social enterprise.
Yeah.
So there's a commercial.
But what's a
aspect to
social
it.
enterprise?
Okay, a social enterprise, just like a regular corporation, we have to make money. So we create we ensure the sustainability of our social impact through commercial activities.
Okay.
Right? But we're not just like a corporation with mga CSR, for example, diba? Na parang less than 10% naman would go back to the community. So it's a hybrid of a corporation and an NGO wherein we produce a social impact, but just like an NGO, but unlike an NGO rather, we do not rely largely on donations.
Donations, yes.
So parang that's the...
Meron siyang life of its own generating regular
yeah.
economic activity.
So that's the biggest difference between these two things. Sorry, again, unlike a corporation, more than 10%, mga 50-60% of the revenue would go back to the community. Of the profit rather, would go back to the community.
Sa Kendama, how much yung bumabalik sa community?
It's mataas, 80% kasi. I mean, siguro mga more than 50%. Because we're sustaining a lot of... We have our own weaving center.
Okay.
We have our own
How does that
looms.
look like? Pag may weaving center ka, paano mo siya explain sa mga lucky home partners na?
Yung weaving center, meaning we paid for the construction of the renovation lang kasi we got it for free, the space. There was a good church which offered the space to us. And then with the help of JCI Manila, thanks to them, we were able to renovate it. And so nagamit namin yung space, nilagyan namin ng looms. Looms are the equipment, the tools that they use for weaving. So we donated those. We donated the threads. We conducted the trainings, the basic weaving and women empowerment training.
So talagang circular siya, no? Parang every step of the way.
So lahat siya. I mean, I think the social impact is very comprehensive. It's not like
isang ano lang.
Some brands, for example, would just enter a community, buy fabric, and say, "Hey, we're helping the community already." So
hindi siya parang feeding program, isang goto for you, tas yun na yun. Yes. For example, etong kwelyo mo, yan, ano yan, di ba? Ito dito.
This is Kendama weaving.
Gaano katagal ihabit yan?
The process of weaving, it's a day to produce like 1 yard.
1 yard.
But syempre may process pa before you start weaving, di ba?
Yeah.
So you set up the weaves and blah blah. So siguro mga a month to create like mga 20 yards.
Okay.
So that's the reason why there's a premium in terms of the pricing. And a social enterprise, we pay the weavers, our partner weavers, twice of the market rate, and twice or thrice the minimum wage.
Twice the minimum wage.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ano masasabi mo sa mga chifaz na na mga textiles na nasa market ngayon?
Why? Hindi, I mean, feeling ko may iba-iba lang talagang target market. I mean, you can't blame some people for purchasing those because that's what they can afford. That's the reality on the ground.
Yeah.
Diba? Ganon. But we have to understand the true cost of this. Of when you purchase something that's cheap.
What's the true cost?
What's the true cost?
Yeah.
True cost in terms of labor, like who made these things. Well, there's a documentary about the true cost. It's entitled "The True Cost," and showing how people are really affected, paid really low. These are not sustainable wages, but they had to do it because you're living in poverty. So, ganon. And the cost to the environment, diba? Like the dyes, for example, when cotton's produced, etc. There is cost to it compared to hand weaving, for example, which does not use electricity. At saka kaya pala mahal yung weaves specifically sa hulungan, the community we work with. And I want to say too that I have Ifugao heritage. Is that the weaving center is located next to a UNESCO heritage site.
Okay.
So we can't just use or introduce any livelihood.
Yeah.
And they're also farmers and the commercial gardeners. And we want to prevent them from commercial gardening. Because what that means is when they commercial garden, they would have to clear the rainforest.
Okay.
So there has to be an incentive for them to weave. And yun yung income.
Okay.
So kailangan mas mataas yung binabayad mo compared to kung ano nakukuha nila sa commercial gardening.
Yes. So, pinoprotektahan mo yung culture, but at the same time, you're recognizing the monetary value attached to creating pieces for that culture.
Yes. And we're also protecting the environment
And
in return.
actually, I mean, mirroring that's also how we treat our suppliers sa restaurant. As much as possible, I want to engage mga small-scale farming communities that batawag dito, meron tayong kausap sa Benguet na farming organization. Nagpadala tayo ng mga seeds from...
Si Gilbert ba to?
Hindi.
Okay.
Gilbert. So kami po ni Vic ay alumni kami pareho of AIM's Master in Development Management Program. So kung mag-usap po kami tungkol sa business, medyo marami pong kaartehan but at the same time, marami rin pong substance.
But it's nice that we understand each other on that level.
Yes.
Coming from, a background,
yes.
debate, etc. So now it's very different.
Mas madali kasi pag halimbawa, kung hindi natin siya naintindihan, bigyan mo ako nitong isang handam, sabi ko, mahal! O kaya, pag halimbawa, kumain ka sa restaurant ko, kunin mo yung specialty like pakbet. Sabi mo, bakit ang mahal? Yung mga gulay, kinukuha natin specifically from suppliers. So, yes. I think Filipinos want to be culturally sensitive. Feeling ko kapag yung mga conversations na ganito mas lumalabas, naintindihan ng mga tao na textile, yung damit, hindi lang siya damit, but it's a culture.
Yeah.
It's an entire economic infrastructure.
That's correct. I think it's very important to note that cultural capital comes with your income level too.
Yes.
Right? So kaya, if we want to really protect culture, I think poverty alleviation is the first part. Like, kailangan to fatten our middle class. That's very important.
Super agree. Manipis yung middle class natin.
Yeah. Like, for just this debate. Just like in debate, we have this term called Kuznets curve. Like,
yes.
People wouldn't care.
Inequality has to happen so that...
Yeah. So people wouldn't care about how they capture the tuna if it's dolphin friendly.
Yeah.
Because what they care about is eating 3 times a day.
Yeah.
So may certain level of income talaga for them to care about the environment. It's the same thing with culture.
Yeah.
So yun.
Culture is what? An intangible part of your identity. Pero yung gutom mo, tangible eh.
Yeah.
Diba? So, I think before we can talk about preservation, heritage, and all that, yung basic needs, economic needs, social needs muna yung...
Yeah, which is what Maslow's is about.
Yeah.
Although debunked is Maslow's. Pero we got the point. Right?
Narepat din namin yung mga sarili namin. Pero yun, batawag dito, sa communities mo sa Candama, ano na yung mga nakita mong changes in the way they live their lives because of the social enterprise?
I think it's more of how they spent the money that they got from weaving. Like, we have one nakapagpaaral, and then naging police yung mga anak, and then the income from that, they were able to build a house na mas maganda pa sa bahay ng tita ko, sabi niya. My tita who's the community developer. And then,
yung family niyo talaga, no? Nasa land.
Nasa Ifugao. Tapos, we had one incident where somebody was, it's very sensitive. Like, her daughter was raped. And then normally, parang you wouldn't report it because mahal yung pamasahe going to
the police
para i-report siya, or going to DSWD. So they use the weaving money to finance the logistics of reporting it. So siguro those are the things that I could say. Those are the impacts on the ground. Other than, syempre, the protection of the heritage sites too.
Yeah.
Diba? Because some of them stop from clearing the rainforest. So, mga ganun effect.
Mga gano'n kadalas mo silang minimi?
Nung ngayon, I think the last time I went there was 2 months, 3 months. So, if you have a project, mga every month, I would go. Now, kasi I'm caregiving for my mom, so it's kind of difficult for me to visit. But I'll visit soon because we have another project there with the JCI Manila. Wherein we're gonna donate looms again and then conduct a bit of training. So we got a grant too from NCCA to do a cultural event. Part of the grant is we're gonna bring an indigenous people's community, not from Ifugao, but another group. Tapos sila yung beneficiary sila yung audience ng cultural event. So they'll see how it's done in Ifugao. So yeah.
They have plans of expanding beyond Ifugao Textile.
Well, that has always been the plan.
Okay.
And now I'm actually utilizing some weaves from Abra, which is still Cordillera. There were a lot of Mindanaoan weaves coming to me. I mean, like some weavers come from Mindanao asking me to use their weaves. Kaya nga lang, I'm not very adept. I'm not very familiar with the weave. So baka ma-accuse ako of appropriation or something. So I don't really know much. So I guess I'll educate myself first about the weaves before I do that.
Immerse muna.
Yeah. But the real goal of Kandama is to scale the social impact by building more weaving centers in other indigenous communities outside of Ifugao.
Yung mga ibang, let's say mga brands, mga ibang brands, may mga sarili ba silang weaving centers o kakaunti pa lang yung mga enterprises na may?
I don't, in all honesty, I do not know of any other brand which has their own weaving center. But they have extensive, in fairness to some, they have extensive partnerships with the communities on the ground.
Okay.
Like they work with them. Yun lang. I think the OG sina Anthill talaga. Anthill, sino po ba? I look up to them. And some brands.
Okay.
I mean, okay, we're in one ecosystem.
Yes.
Like, we're not enemies.
Yes.
The enemy is fast fashion, etc., etc. So we celebrate everybody in the ecosystem.
The enemy is unfair labor standard.
Exactly.
Yun lang yun. Okay. Eto, naisip ko lang kanina habang nag-usap tayo. Do you consider yourself as a steward, a protector, or a disruptor?
I think a combination of all. Parang feeling ko to be a great steward of culture, you have to disrupt it to a certain extent. Because I believe that innovation, which is part of largely what disruption is about, innovation is key to preservation. Like what we're doing in Kandama, for example. Like these weaves, like this wasn't, some of the motifs, the symbols, it's traditional, but you wouldn't do it this way.
Yeah.
The kind of the placement, and even the color, like
Yeah.
teal. You're not gonna use teal, diba? But you have to make it commercially viable in order for the local weavers to continue weaving. It has to be commercially viable so that you can pay the weavers so that they can continue weaving.
Yeah.
So in return, you're becoming a steward, and we're also protecting culture. So yeah, so a bit of those three.
Bit of everything.
I mean, we have issues with purists, for example, na parang, like that's not traditional, etc., etc. I mean, but if we're gonna be like purists, it will also.
So hindi ka purist?
Not entirely.
Not entirely.
I mean, I do get. I mean, you have to maintain the essence of what you're doing. You have to maintain the essence of the culture, but not purist. Kasi kung purist ka, for example, ang mga babae topless, di ba? Like before the Americans came.
Yeah.
And then Americans came here. They're like, oh, you should wear like, you know, something on top. So hindi ako purist.
Hindi tayo babalik doon.
Yeah, we shouldn't. And again, like, I think I mentioned this earlier to you. Na parang there's some parts of culture that are not worth preserving, like the head hunting culture. And unfortunately, one of the reasons why yung tattooing in Ifugao died out, like you're not gonna see a wangod in Ifugao, for example, because it's highly connected to the head hunting culture.
Also why batawag dito, I also feel uncomfortable getting a tattoo from her.
Oh, why is that?
Parang feeling ko I'm an outsider to the
culture.
And I wouldn't treat the tattoo with the care and with the importance of a person who understands that.
That's correct. We have a common friend na may tattoo siya. Si Charles Sarat.
Talaga meron pa tayong
siya
isang
recently.
friend. Tatlo.
Marami sila. But I mean, like, we love them.
Yeah.
Maybe they have like a different take on things, but yeah, I mean, that's a very good view.
And this is the debate friendship. Lahat kami nag-aaway tapos kakain.
Nagtsatsakaan.
Yes.
But still, thank you for inviting me.
Ayan. But dito, we have so many more questions, but magbe-break po tayo ng sandali. Magbabalik po ang Pinoy Flavors with Chef Jayson. Kasama natin si Victor Bagilat of Kandama and Social Enterprise.
Yes.
Noon, pag may nagkasakit sa pamilya, agad may pangamba. Hindi lang dahil sa sakit, kung hindi dahil sa takot kung saan kukuha ng pampagamot.
Mahal ang gamot.
Nakita at naramdaman ito ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. Kaya iniutos niyang ilapit pa ang tulong pangkalusugan sa bawat Pilipino. Sa PhilHealth, ipinagkatiwala ang pagtutok para maging tunay na serbisyo ang kautusang ito. Kaya nagtungo ang Pangulo sa General Santos City para masigurong umaabot sa mga tao ang mga programa.
Mr. President, pwede pa yakap.
Tulad ng yakap program para sa agaran at libreng check-up, screening, x-ray at lab tests. Mayroon ding programang gamot na nagbibigay ng hanggang 20,000 pesos na libreng maintenance medicines.
Ang yakap, by the mere word, yakapin para mailayo sa sakit. Kinabit na rin namin yung availability ng gamot at saka ng basic lab. We're hoping bumaba rin yung ating kailangan ma-hospital.
Ginagawa natin mga paraan, maagang nagpapatingin para hindi na uabot sa malubhang sakit.
May dagdag suporta sa dialysis para sa tuloy-tuloy na gamutan ng mga tulad ni Leo na 3 beses isang linggo ang dialysis. May tulong din sa cancer treatment ang mga tulad naman ni Maribeth para hindi maputol ang laban dahil lang sa gastos. Pinalawak din ang maternity coverage para sa normal delivery, cesarean, pati prenatal at postnatal care.
Ikalat natin yung balita para alam ng tao kapag may karamdaman sila, meron silang gustong patignan, yung anak nila, whatever, meron silang pupuntahan.
Sa buong bansa, tuloy-tuloy ang trabaho, isa-isang inaayos ang mga bagay na nagpapagaan sa buhay ng mga Pilipino. Ngayon may PhilHealth, may tulong. Hindi lang ito benepisyo, kung hindi ka panatagan para sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino.
Nagbabalik po tayo sa Pinoy Flavors with Chef Jayson. Kasama po natin ang aking debate partner si Victor Bagilat, no? So ngayon, papunta na tayo sa mga questions na mas mag-stretch ng aming mga utak. Magsisimula ako with this development question, Vic. If you have the powers, I mean, ikaw magde-decide and can fix everything or anything, what are the top 3 things you'd do in the development world?
Una, magka-love life na tayo. Kaya ba ng development powers yan? Charot. So the first one would be, well, siguro indigenous empowerment, indigenous rights. Like how would the world look like if the people taking care of the environment would come from the indigenous peoples?
Yes.
Diba? So that's the first thing. Siguro like put them in positions of power so that they can apply indigenous knowledge. So the second one,
Ano ko lang. What is indigenous knowledge?
they have a special, intimate relationship with the environment. So it's very different from how we would normally do it.
Yeah.
Medyo bureaucratic. Well, to a certain extent, it's a bit, it's scientific.
Yeah.
So theirs is different. Like how they would till the land,
Yes.
for example. There's certain ownership,
Yes.
yung parang land ownership, and how they protect the rainforest. It's also kind of different. They have a different system compared to how we would normally do it. How they would do it in an ancestral domain is different from how would mainstream people from the mainstream would actually do it. So the second one would be women empowerment, really, which is what we're doing in Kandama. So most of our weavers are babae.
Yeah.
Because my thesis in college, na binagsak ko 3 times. At may reason pala kung bakit ko siya binagsak. Kasi, yun palang gagawin ko in life. According to my thesis, parang the highest return of investment for community development is actually investing on women's opportunities. So, you give them more education, like more livelihood, more income. They would spend the income that they would generate different from their male counterparts.
Yes, okay, I want to talk about that. Kasi di ba parang, from the development world, yun din yung mga nanay, yung mga anak, mga lola, yung mga matriarchs, basically, sila yung gustong i-empower, at least from the development side. Yung question ko ay, sabi mo nga, magkaiba yung paggastos ng babae, tsaka ng lalaki in their communities. Ano yung mga pagkakaiba in your experience?
I think mainly because also of the expectation towards a woman, they would take care of their kids.
Yes.
That maybe the bond is also a bit different.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's true for everybody, but there's a certain maternal, like bond. They would spend on their kids' education more than men. And there's actually a study about this. Hindi lang siya like gut feel. So ganun talaga. So women are generally more responsible in terms of spending the money, and they would spend it for the family, for the kids.
Mas family
oriented. So yun. The third...
Sorry.
Sorry.
Ano yung ulit? So in empowerment measures, kapag empowered si babae, our assumption is it will trickle down to
the family, to the kids. Oh,
okay.
Yun. Tapos kung empowered din sa babae, less kids. So that's
fair.
That's the reason why the GDP per capita is higher.
Fair. So meron ding overpopulation
issue.
So bagay, kasi kung meron kang purchasing capacity, medyo mas, mas marami kang magagawa sa buhay mo. Other than child rearing or having kids.
Yeah. So parang they have careers, or sometimes they go back to higher education.
Yeah.
That's it. So in terms of contributing to the economy, to society, higher siya if the women are educated or if they have more opportunities.
So put indigenous communities in positions of power, put women in positions of power. Sila yung primary beneficiaries mo and stakeholders. Ano yung pangatlo?
Syempre, put Bex in power. Kailangan empower the mga Bex.
Okay,
diba?
okay.
Charot. Yeah, feeling ko they're as marginalized as women. But I'm super happy about, the entire co-ownership issue, Supreme Court.
I think that's a landmark decision. Parang,
it definitely is.
Pwede mo nang sabihin na, yung property rights is the most basic of all, patawag ito, joint rights.
Pero syempre, there's a lot to be done. Like, for example, it's still not equal rights. Things like, for example, yung medical decisions for your partner, you can do it yet. Things like adoption.
Yes.
Parang mga ganong issue.
O diba, ang dami namin na pag-usapan. Kanina, damit lang. Ngayon, nasa, na tayo? Same-sex adoption. But yes, tawag dito, when you have more vulnerable communities in positions of power, I think it's easier to expect na mas passionate yung pag-decentralize. Mas compassionate, yung pag-decentralize nung power.
Yeah, the lands are very different. At saka iba lang generally yung decision making, I think, when it comes to distributing power. So that's what is politics. Politics is about, like power distribution, diba?
Numbers.
So
dun sa tatlong sinabi mo, gets ko na kung bakit hindi pa napupunta in positions of power the LGBTQIA+ community. Given the country and given the majority and given the culture. Pero bakit yung indigenous communities and women, especially for a matrilineal country like ours, hindi pa siya nagagawa?
I think, well, in fairness naman to other countries, we're also a bit more advanced when it comes to like women's rights, etc. Like people, I'm not sure if this is true, but
on paper.
Well, that's correct.
Okay.
We're even more advanced than the US roughly. Well, we had like 2 female presidents compared to the US. Feeling ko hindi lang masyadong institutionalized, I think. Like when I was in New Zealand when I was in Australia, parang iba yung appreciation nila. They still have a long way to go when it comes to indigenous people's rights, but parang a lot of they have a seat in parliament for indigenous peoples. In New Zealand, it's also the same thing. We don't have the same thing here. So it's not as institutionalized.
And kapag hindi institutionalized yung isang bagay, mas madali ka to be let go of, mas madali ka to be invisibilized, mas madali kang kami na lang gagawa nito, diyan ka na lang sa gilid.
That's correct. So it could also be, maybe we don't have the numbers. But I heard, I'm not sure though, like parang 10% of our population are actually from the indigenous peoples. So I'm not sure. And syempre, iba-iba rin naman mag-isip yan. So the way they vote is also different. It's not block voting. So that's, I guess, those are the factors why we're not that progressive in a sense.
Do you see hope?
Of course. We have this talk show to bring development to the country. Yeah, I mean, you can only hope for the best. That's what I think. I do. I'm very hopeful. I'm very happy with Ma'am Dani of New York.
Who?
Si Mayor Ma'am Dani.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have that version here while we have Vico Soto. Charot. Okay lang ba na we're talking about those things here?
Okay lang yan.
So I really hope that we have more progressive politicians who are gonna lobby for these rights.
Napaano ulit ako. What do you mean when you say progressive? Kasi di ba lahat na lang. I mean, well, minsan mga tao pag sabi mong progressive or liberal, medyo allergic na agad sila with
the terms. That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, for me, when you say progressive, it's more of the rights of IPs, of women, of LGBT. So these are the rights that the mainstream people are actually experiencing, but you're not experiencing, I guess. That's what I mean by progressive. But let's not be very sensitive about that.
Okay. I mean, all of the things that we were doing from our industries, these are, aside from culture, these are tourism related activities. What about tourism makes you uncomfortable?
Well, it's not.
Sige, go, ikaw muna.
Okay, so in Ifugao, we're the community is in Kiangan, which is the less touristy side actually of Ifugao. And then tourists would normally go to Banawe. And I guess it's more popular. You see it in the bill. It's at the peso bill. But you've seen the effect of tourism there. And you've also seen the effect of over-tourism in Japan, for example. That's the reason why the locals are pissed, right? Like, they don't want a lot of tourists.
Actually, it's the Baguio, the local tourists are.
Yes, exactly. So over-tourism could actually destroy things. So if you don't have measures in place, it could be problematic. Like, how do you control tourism, and how do you ensure the preservation of the culture and heritage with the tourists? But at the same time, the community is still making money. So I guess that's what I'm iffy about, making sure that the infrastructure is in place to control tourism. Yeah.
Tourists. And empowered si local.
Pero ang problema namin sa Kiangan, specifically, it's the marketing, the demand.
Okay.
So people don't know that we have a UNESCO heritage site there.
First of all, how easy is it even to go to Kiangan?
Yeah, there's also an infrastructure issue, right? Parang the bus going there, it's not as easily accessible as the bus is going to Sagada or Baguio, or Baguio, definitely, or Banawe. So that's an issue.
Aside from that, wala na.
Aside from that, elite capture. If you're familiar with elite capture and sustainability in sustainable tourism, that you build the tourism capacity of the place, pero only the elites would actually benefit from it. Kumbaga, sila yung may-ari ng hotel, sila yung may-ari ng mga tutuluyan mo, sila yung capture nila yung location. So it's not trickling down to the community. So you have to have systems to prevent that.
Meron akong dalawang insights about that. First ay, hindi nga siya nagtitrickle to the community pag may elite capture. Second, the narrative and the stories that come out of that cultural interaction galing sa elite lang din. I think yun din yung mga sinasabi ng marami ring batawag dito, Filipino food enthusiasts when Michelin came in, na the standard of the West is being used so that to validate our Philippine food. Diba? Parang that makes you think also na parang with this new thing, hindi lang siya question of who gets to benefit, but who gets to be the storyteller.
Yeah.
Diba?
So parang nagiging, you need an external power to legitimize a certain story or a certain cuisine or
Yes.
something like
So,
that.
halimbawa, Michelin came in. They legitimized our cuisine. They recognized our cuisine
As a worthy to go or worthy to taste.
around the world. But
Oo.
on whose perspective is it worthy? Number one.
Yeah, that's a good perspective.
And number two, who says which food deserves to be awarded?
Oo nga, oo.
Parang ganun. What makes lutong bahay kare-kare less better than, let's say, an elevated...
What are the standards
Yeah.
for saying that?
I mean, as a Filipino, yun, parang feeling ko, not only did the standard exist when Michelin came, now, personal opinion ko lang naman, those who were awarded, nagkaroon na sila ng mabigat na responsibility to talk about the cuisine. Not only do they have to prove that their food is good, but the communities by which they're operating, they're part of. Parang, yun yung takeaway ko with all the...
Yeah. So, hindi ka ba nape-pressure na may Michelin star at meron kang trainings and...
Ako gusto ko lang magluto ng Filipino food for the Filipino people. I mean, you saw naman how trainings engaged the locality kapag may bagyo, nagiging soup kitchen siya. To me, how you design Kandama, I think maraming elements nun. Ganun ko rin din-design yung trainings when we were starting. I didn't want to just become a restaurant.
Yeah.
Hindi ko lang gusto na masarap yung pagkain sa restaurant na to. Parang dapat nagko-contribute yung restaurant to the bigger conversation of food dignity, poverty, hunger, urban hunger, mga ganun.
Yeah. Which also begs the question, like, is that even a standard for becoming a Michelin star restaurant?
Feeling ko hindi. Sasabihin ko na hindi. Pero sinabi ni Gordon Ramsay before, that Philippine cuisine is the sleeping beauty of Asia. I disagree. I think that Philippine cuisine is not sleeping. It's an awakened cuisine.
Yeah.
But an awakened cuisine is a cuisine that looks at social impacts also. So to me, kung tulog tayo, sure. Pero hindi tayo tulog eh. At kung hindi tayo tulog, dapat yung pagkain natin nakakaabot sa mga tao hindi kayang makakain.
Anong sabi ni Kumaring Abby?
Agree kami, pareho. Na parang it's about our validation of the food first.
Yeah.
And second is yung perception na lang ng ibang tao. Dapat mauna muna si local.
Sa local, oo.
Okay, magla-last question ako, Vic. Sabi sa'yo, 1 oras.
Wow.
Napakabilis lang.
1 minute, 1 hour na yun.
I think yung question naman natin, nung mga bata tayo, it was important for us to see ourselves in other people.
Yeah.
So if there's like a young designer, indigenous or non-indigenous, who's watching now, or kahit someone who wants to do something else in their lives, ano yung mapapayo mo sa kanila?
The concept of ikigai, although like some people are saying that this is not authentic, ikigai term, di ba? Na parang there's a diagram that ikigai is at the center of, like what you're good at, what the world needs, what you're passionate about, what makes you money. Feeling ko find that. And in the process, look for that ikigai. Which is essentially what I did. Parang and I also agree, it's not enough to just find your passion. You have to find something that you're passionate about, but at the same time, it should make you money, and you should be able to contribute back to society. So what I'm gonna tell young designers, indigenous peoples out there, is to just enjoy, like, looking for the things that you're passionate about. Just be intentional about it. Make sure that it contributes to the community and that you're gonna make money eventually. So yeah, that's it. Like, just enjoy life. For me, that's pretty much it.
Yun, mukhang enjoy na enjoy ka nga sa buhay mo.
Oo nga. Kaya yung size ko lumalaki. Signs of prosperity.
Same.
Yan.
Yun.
Pero calorie deficit.
Talaga?
Oo. So pumayat na ako ng 2 kilograms.
Ako, calorie implicits na lang ako.
Kain. Ayan, so eto na naman po mga ka-flavors ang isang episode na nakasama natin ang isa sa mga pinakamagagaling kong kaibigan dito no sa Pilipinas. And we're very happy with our episode today. Sama-sama po tayong magkita-kita next Wednesday sa isa na namang episode of Pinoy Flavors with Chef Jayson. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat.
Get ready to turn your Friday nights all the way up the mobile circuit. Hosted by DJ Sting and DJ Dreadnoughts. 1.5 hours of non-stop party music, all in the mix. Featuring guest DJs live from here and around the world. Now on a new time slot, every Friday, 9:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. Only on the 1206 a.m.